Hello students, this is Abraham Lincoln's second inaugural address, and it's a really tough speech, and so I just wanted to quickly point out some of the strategies that you may be unfamiliar with as you read this. I hate to read it to you, but I will briefly do so. At the second appearing to take the oath of the presidential office, there is less occasion for an extended address than there was at the first. Then a statement somewhat in detail of a course to be pursued seemed fitting and proper. Now, at the expiration of 4 years, during which public declarations have been constantly called forth on every point and phase of the great contest which still absorbs the attention and engrosses the energies of the nation, little that is new could be presented. The progress of our arms, upon which all else chiefly depends, is as well known to the public as to myself, and it is, I trust, reasonably satisfactory and encouraging to all. With high hope for the future, no prediction in regard to it is ventured. As you can tell, it's a little tough, but one thing that you may notice at the beginning of his speech, he is comparing the past to the present. So he is talking about the first inaugural address and how at that time a detailed statement was necessary. But now, 4 years later, it's really not necessary to deliver a long speech. We all know what's going on. We all know what the nation has been dealing with over the last 4 years, and so he starts off immediately letting the audience know that he will be brief, and he is going to talk about the Civil War, of course, and so he does have a positive tone or attitude with high hope for the future, and so that is something that you can look at. That's in the first paragraph. Then also in this first paragraph there's some parallel syntax, and parallel syntax means the sentence structures are similar, and so you can absorbs the attention, engrosses the energies. Both of those phrases are parallel to each other, and that's a rhetorical strategy. Now in the second paragraph he says, on the occasion corresponding to this 4 years ago, all thoughts were anxiously directed to an impending civil war. All dreaded it. All sought to avert it. While the inaugural address was being delivered from this place, devoted altogether to saving the Union without war, insurgent agents were in the city, seeking to destroy it without war, seeking to dissolve the Union and divide effects by negotiation. Both parties deprecated war, but one of them would make war rather than let the nation survive, and the other would accept war rather than let it perish, and the war came. This is a beautiful paragraph, and he does a nice job comparing and contrasting the two very different goals of the North and the South. And so it would be an interesting paragraph to analyze, where you talk about, again, there's a parallel sentence structure, and saving the Union without war, destroy it without war, and seeking to dissolve the Union, divide effects. All of these are nice little strategies to analyze and decide what Lincoln's purpose is by using them. Now this paragraph is very long, and that's something you could notice in your analysis. So he says 1/8 of the whole population were colored slaves, not distributed generally over the Union, but localized in the southern part of it. These slaves constituted a particular and powerful interest. All knew that this interest was somehow the cause of the war. To strengthen, perpetuate, and extend this interest was the object for which the insurgents would rend the Union even by war, while the government claimed no right to do more than restrict the territorial enlargement of it. Neither party expected for the war the magnitude or the duration which it has already attained. Neither anticipated that the cause of the conflict might cease with, or even before the conflict itself should cease. You notice he's using repetition here when he says neither party did this, neither anticipated. That's called an ephora, and it's this repetition at the beginning of a phrase or clause or sentence. Each looked for an easier triumph and result, less fundamental and astounding. Both read the same Bible and pray to the same God, and each invokes his aid against the other. It may seem strange that any man should dare to ask a just God's assistance in wringing their bread from the sweat of other men's faces, but let us judge not that we be judged. Now we are shifting here to many biblical allusions, and remember his audience was a religious audience, and so he is kind of pointing out the hypocrisy here of asking God to punish somebody when we are using a man for our own needs. The prayers of both cannot be answered. That of neither has been answered fully. The Almighty has his own purposes. Woe unto the world because of offenses, for it must needs be that offenses come. But woe to the man by whom the offense cometh. And that's a biblical allusion. If we shall suppose that American slavery is one of those offenses which, in the providence of God, must needs come, but which, having continued through his appointed time, he now wills to remove, and that he gives both the North and South this terrible war, as a woe due to those by whom the offense came, shall we discern therein any departure from those divine attributes which the believers in a living God always ascribe to him? Fondly do we hope, fervently do we pray, that this mighty scourge of war may speedily pass away. That's a beautiful sentence. It has parallel structure. Fondly do we hope, fervently do we pray. See how those sentences line up with each other? And then it has a little bit of the rhyme in there. Again, you could break this one paragraph probably into two different parts to analyze separately if you wanted to. And then, yet, it's a transition. It's a good indicator of a shift. If God wills that it continue until all the wealth piled by the bondsman's 250 years of unrequited toil shall be sunk, until every drop of blood drawn with the lash shall be paid by another drawn with the sword, as was said 300 years ago, so still it must be said, the judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. Again, biblical allusions, and he has some very nice imagery in here where you have the every drop of blood drawn with the lash, the mighty scourge of war, which is nice diction, use of words, with malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right, as God gives to us to see the right. Let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves and with all nations. And you can tell in this very last paragraph he has a different purpose. Okay, and so what is this purpose? How does he achieve it? And again, there's some nice parallel sentences and nice diction. So I hope this helps you as you analyze that speech.